The potato tour across Russia continues. Today we are in the Proletarsky district of the Rostov region at the Energiya company. Let's get energized. Let's get some energy together with this company. Let's go take a look.
And there are 20 more people working in the field. These are the tractor drivers delivering water. These are the people mixing the chemicals. These are the people mixing the fertilizers with those buckets. 2 are standing around smoking and 3 more are somewhere doing who knows what. And all of this is salaries. Now the mixing unit, here everything is centralized. 3 people are assigned to service the mixing unit. A Kamaz truck delivers the prepared solution. And 3 or 4 tractors deliver fresh water.
Who controls the preparation of the mixture?
Well, first of all, we typically do a comprehensive test mix in a large bucket, which is a crucial initial step. If everything turns out well in the bucket, then it will work in the mixing unit too. Then accordingly, the foreman is present during the mixing, during the preparation of the main batch, so to speak.
I just somehow understand that in fact a large company is already moving towards a centralized mixing unit. Because, well, on the other hand, there are both opponents and supporters. Opponents say that if a mistake happens, it's a very big one.
Well, we also approach this very seriously. Fungicide and herbicide treatments in the first year were carried out directly in the field. That is, we mixed the micronutrients, urea, roughly speaking, everything was done right there on the spot. And all the more complex elements were mixed directly in the field. Well, over time, we somehow got over this psychologically. We moved on, got past it, and did everything right here on the spot. Because, well, after all, you have your calculations, right? Mathematically, you know your volumes. Well, where could you possibly make a mistake here? So this is our sunflower, by the way. These are the seeds that we grow for ourselves. As of today, this is what our sunflower looks like.
Is it Russian breeding?
No, it's definitely not Russian breeding. It's actually not Russian breeding at all.
I just know that in Rostov you also have someone who is actively working on the breeding of animals. In Aksay, right? That's in
Aksay.
Azov, yes. Pavlyuk Volodya, he works with onions, and now he's started working with seed plots in the Stavropol region, focusing on high reproductions, not hybridization, specifically high reproductions. Well, it seems interesting what he's doing.
This year, we made a deal with the company Grantsits, and we're growing the Borley variety. So basically, the crop looks very good at the decision stage, and I think the seeds are well developed too. I think this year they're really happy they partnered with us, and we already have tremendous experience. Over the past 5 years, we've encountered some pitfalls along the way. By the way, this one is also foreign. It will be available for sale. It is already on sale. It's set 3 heads. And as I said, despite the drought, it looks quite decent. I don't know what the final yield will be because the summer was very dry and the neighbors, in fact, just disked everything under. So I think it will please us with its yield, but for now, let's not make any predictions.
The granary will show.
Yes, the granary will show. Soil cultivation is being carried out right now. The fields, of course, are quite overgrown.
Have you ever considered no-till technology at all? This
year, we decided that it was indeed time to move forward with developing the dry layer. That is to say, we are accustomed to experiencing significant rainfall in the autumn season and also considerable rainfall in the spring season.
And this
year there was none, neither in the fall nor in the spring, and the winter wasn't snowy or rainy at all. So now, as of today, our task is that we've selected about 1,000 hectares of land to try out no-till. Well, we want to do direct seeding on it.
Yes.
Yes. So look, this is our corn. Long suffering, it's just terrible. It seems like it got lucky. It managed to catch some rain, but the cob is just awful to look at. We've planned about 1,000 hectares for no-till. We'll see. The main task now is to keep them from getting overgrown. We want to go in, spray with glyphosate, and leave it for the winter. Of course, with fields like these, we'll have to do some soil cultivation anyway. Here, as I said, the main problem was that the straw was lying in windrows, and we couldn't pick them up for a long time because there was just too much baling to do. Well, here's our livestock herd, grazing. Here are this year's calves already. Look, they're still small, but each one probably weighs at least 150 kilograms. And this is a livestock site, one of 3. Right now, at this moment, there's equipment working there, hauling out manure. Straw and hay are being harvested here as well. You can see the bales over there. So, Maloburgus is my grandfather's homeland, and every day he used to walk about 6 or 7 kilometers to go to school. He was born in Maloburgus, but lived at the Baiketni stage. Well, you could say that back in the days of Catherine, the Germans founded this village. They had everything. They had their own blacksmith shop, their own mill, their own fresh water. You might wonder, where would they get water here, brothers? They dug a well, so they had fresh water.
Baiketni, you mean somewhere up on a hill?
Well, you just go in that direction. By the way, here's the elevation I told you about. 118 meters above sea level. That used to be 26. And over there, we didn't check actually, but in Maloburgusta, it's 136 meters above sea level. So he lived in Baiketni and would walk 7 kilometers to Maloburgusta through snow, rain, mud, you name it, just the way we like it. He walked, studied, and gained knowledge. Today, my grandfather is an honored figure in Russia. He probably has every possible certificate and honorary title. But everything he achieved was through his own hard work and knowledge. He serves as a role model for us. And in his own way, he also gives back to the enterprise. And of course, I can see that people with that Soviet hardening find it hard to adapt to the new way of life. And now people are psychologically sensitive. Everyone needs a special approach, but he doesn't really accept that. And he has a certain stubbornness, a solid one. He always has an argument. Back in my day, I used to fire 5 people a day. Damn, well, I mean, back when there was an abundance of people, that kind of thing worked. But now you have to deal with each person. There's no one waiting outside the door.
Right?
Yeah, you absolutely have to find a suitable and effective approach for every single individual, taking a genuine and deep interest in their personal life and professional work, basically, yes. Well, that's precisely it. You get into the tractor and learn a little bit about the operations and mechanics, gaining valuable experience along the way. Not only do you learn about their life, but you also pick up some secrets, some events that passed you by, but still happened. Let's just say it's a source of information.
Volodya, if we are indeed discussing that particular topic, what exactly was your most significant professional mistake, the one you genuinely made, if you are able to openly share it, that you profoundly regret and would most probably not make again in the present or future?
I guess there isn't really one. Maybe it's just the way things turned out. Maybe it's a kind of luck. Well, for example, before implementing anything, just sit down with a pencil and calculate the pros and cons. Probably last year with the corn, I wish I could go back with the knowledge I have now to beat that record because the climate was right, but this year I couldn't make it happen. In fact, every year is always new. We've never had it the same, not once. You can ask any agronomist. Take wheat, for example. It seems like everything is the same. The plan, the feeding, the treatments, the growth stages, everything is the same. But the weather conditions, they make their own adjustments and that's it. And you realize that, for example, stolon formation and tuber formation have shifted by 2 weeks because of weather factors. That your wheat, instead of ripening by June 16th, will actually be ready by the 1st of June. And that's precisely why all these various factors and even extensive prior experience just seem to completely dissolve into thin air. You absolutely have to consistently come up with a brand new innovative strategy and fresh, effective approaches every single year. So any experience, whether good or bad, is still experience. And I'm grateful that I can learn and try everything here so that tomorrow I can be prepared.
You told me that an agronomist is a specialist, a person who can explain in scientific terms why something didn't work out.
Well, thank goodness, maybe it's because of the size of the fields, maybe it's just how things have developed historically, but we are always in contact with everyone, with any agronomist. So no matter what he says, no matter how he explains the reason for this or that, I am basically always with them. I see what is happening with each crop, and I am always grateful to them for their openness, because if we have any problem, they immediately let us know. It's not like everything is kept quiet until the harvest and then there's a big debrief afterwards. No, during the season I see what's going on. I already know the root cause of certain problems. And it's easier for me to make some decisions or to accept the reality as it is.
Tell me, what particular human weakness are you truly willing to forgive, and which one are you absolutely not willing to forgive at all?
That's an interesting question. Well, probably the act of lying is something I genuinely believe I couldn't truly forgive, or perhaps with a great deal of effort I could, but then it's just that if I were to catch someone lying or doing something of that nature, my inherent trust in them would significantly drop, and it would be quite hard for me to continue working with that person on the very same terms as before. So I'm grateful to those people who stay the same year after year, and you already know what to expect from them. What bothers me most is when something happens behind your back and you only find out after the fact and the relationship is already damaged. You just can't get past that barrier because now you've seen a different side of that person. So everything else, honestly, you don't even need to worry about it, whether it's a broken tractor, broken navigation, or something else. Those are just minor things. The most important thing in all of this is the person, because if there is no person, then all of this is meaningless. That's why relationships between people are very important to me within the team. Of course, just like everyone else, we have our own intrigues, investigations, and so on. I don't like getting caught up in all that, but I have to. Because with 400 people, after all, each has their own ambitions, their own personalities, and everyone thinks they're smarter than the next person and knows how things should be done. But when you give a person the opportunity, like, here, go ahead, take it and do it your way, well, about 80% of the time they get deflated.
Tell me, as we're driving along this road, I noticed that in some places it's been filled in others it's been leveled. Is that something you handle yourselves?
Well, the road we just drove on, the PGS, the sand and gravel mixed with Tersa, that's done by us farmers. Guys, there wasn't even a road here at all. It used to be a constant problem. In the fall, in the winter, it was impossible to get the harvest out. So we had to make a detour, the one we took the first time. And this short road, they just laid it out for themselves so that grain trucks and machinery could pass through because they have a large field here and they need to work it. We try to only put down crushed brick or something similar in particularly difficult spots in really tough sections, but even then with all the tractors, trucks and Kamazes, it all gets pushed out and at best ends up on the sides of the road. Eventually all of that ends up in the field. That means later on it gets into the plowing, the cultivation, the disking, and makes for a fun harvest. So overall our farmers try to keep the dirt roads in good condition. We do it ourselves all the time. We have our own grader, actually too. We grade the road regularly, so as soon as it rains and the road gets a bit rutted, we get right to it. While you yourself,
Well, I noticed, yes,
that it's quite comfortable to drive.
I definitely can't argue with that.
So significant credit should be justly given to the diligent farmers who meticulously maintain and consistently improve the essential road. Well, here we are back at the canal. For some reason it runs kind of zigzag like this, and we always drive through it everywhere.
Well, I think I've driven through it 3 or 4 times.
Yes. It's all the same canal.
I understand that it's the same canal, the main one, right? Honestly, I truly didn't think there would be quite so many canals like this here. Here in the Rostov region. For me, it was a bit of a discovery. Although in the managed Gudilo, it had to be fed by something.
Well, yeah. Although its source actually comes from Kalmykia, from all the steppes around. And here it gets additional water from this canal. Our whole story with potato farming started out of interest. In 2014, representatives from the PepsiCo plant came to visit us. Azol. Niger Evgenovich, hello. He came and said, guys, let's try growing potatoes. At that point, we already had experience with irrigated potatoes, with drip irrigation, but with table potatoes. And in principle, according to all the rules, the potato in the Rostov region is for chips. But this was something completely unreal, fantastic. In 2014,
It happened.
and so they brought it to us. I think we tried either the Premier or Newton variety first, or maybe some other kind. Then they brought us Erka. We handed it in from the field. They liked everything. Everything suited them. Let's increase the acreage. It started with 5 hectares. Today, that's about 400 hectares under irrigation. 400 hectares of potatoes every year. We plan and adjust the crop rotation so that, for example, if the irrigation system is new, it's only on fresh land. We grow potatoes for 2 years. We only have late potatoes, no early ones. We start planting on June 5th and finish by the 25th. Because firstly, we get water closer to May. That is from the 1st to the 10th of May. So if I plant them in April, they might just dry out and die. And another major problem is pests. Mainly leafhoppers, they are carriers of viruses. We lose up to 40% of our crop because of pests. But in principle, it makes sense. By May, the steppe is already completely dried out. There are still insects, and they fly to the green mass and happily feast on our potatoes. And leafhoppers are such a truly nasty and incredibly destructive insect that as soon as you begin the process of treating for them, they become even more aggressively active and severely damage the entire affected area, causing significant and widespread harm. But we managed to find the right timing, and now many people here in the Rostov region do the same. So the main method is early planting, and we'll start harvesting when we're psychologically ready, around September. Physically, we'll try to start closer to the end of October, because right now, looking at the potatoes, they still have a lot of growing to do. So our goal is to extend the vegetation period as much as possible so the potatoes can fully mature. And in September and October, the weather will be as favorable as possible for it here. Daytime temperatures will be around 20 degrees Celsius, and nighttime temperatures will be about 15 or maybe 10 degrees. But right now, the most important thing is to keep the foliage healthy. At the moment, all the conditions are ideal for late blight, alternaria, and anthracnose to develop. So therefore, we need to carefully strike a balance and maintain the healthy foliage. Our agronomist already has a tried and tested scheme. Every single year, it subtly changes a little bit, primarily because resistance is always a significant and influential factor.
Is the company working in the thick of it?
Yes, we get part of the product in August. I think it's Centrac, if I'm not mistaken. No, not the August one. In general, we take part of the Mikroshnaya fungicide line in August.
Do you mean in the month or in the company?
In the month?
In the month or in the company?
In August. In the company.
Regarding the esteemed soil science department at your institute, I don't know if you are fully aware, but a distinguished individual named Vladimir Stefanovich used to work there as the respected head of the department in Rostov. Those are indeed my beloved godparents. I haven't had the opportunity to see him in approximately 15 long years. Even back then, he was already quite an older gentleman residing in Rostov. Well, in that particular... Vargula, yes, that's what it was called back then. Rostov State Agrarian University.
So we literally spent about 3 days in the fields with her, took soil samples every 10 centimeters in each layer and sent them for analysis. And thanks to that, I basically got attached to the irrigation standards. That is, what level of moisture I should have depending on each specific field. But actually, the best strategy is just to give a good dose of water, the so-called maximum irrigation that the soil can handle. For example, for me, that number is 25 millimeters, 30 if it's really dry.
What does maximum irrigation mean? Does that mean the water should be standing in the field?
Yes, there should be actual puddles, just puddles.
Right?
Specifically, on slopes, the water can actually flow away, run off somewhere down the incline. But in order to really understand, first, the maximum that the soil can absorb at one time in a single irrigation, and second, to see how much that is, what value it shows on the sensor, and at each level, 10, 20, 30, 40 centimeters. My main root inhabited layer is up to 50 centimeters. Anything below that is simply inaccessible, not even to the plant, it just doesn't go there. But I think that most likely due to the characteristics of the soil, there are salts in those horizons, so that soil is rather unfavorable. That's why it tries to realize all its potential at the top here. And I just realized that there's no point in forcing corn to go meters deep into the ground. It simply doesn't go there. My potential, yes, is right here at 10, 20, 30 centimeters. Of course, there might be some capillaries or something else going downwards, but in fact, on the graphs, I only see consumption within those 30 centimeters. I couldn't get it to go deeper. And how can you make the plant go deeper, force it to reach down for water? Only by stressing it with underwatering in the upper horizons. That is, so that it feels the moisture deficit and goes deeper. But last year I pushed it too far, so this year I decided not to take any risks. I water according to how the soil feels, how it behaves, and how the plant responds. You can really see it, for example, during active water consumption, say when it's hot, it drops sharply from 40 to 25%. You can see it clearly. Like a step-shaped graph, it's really abrupt. But from 25%, the drop becomes more gradual. That is, the moisture becomes unavailable to the plant. It seems like it's there, but because of the soil's characteristics, it's inaccessible to the plant, to the root system. And that's why I need to maintain exactly that level. But with sandy soils, things are a bit simpler when it comes to irrigation, but there are completely different problems there. For example, I recently visited some guys who have increased hydro modules. It's an absolute necessity for them because they need to deliver 20-30 millimeters of water at once and very quickly, since all the moisture just drains away through the sand. After irrigation, we literally walked onto the soil, onto the field. The dirt doesn't even stick to your shoes, but with our clay, well, it sticks so thoroughly that when we harvest the potatoes, all of them are just... When you
dry them, do you break the clods apart?
Well, the workers stand there and pick at them with knives, absolutely.
In
In general, our main task is to keep the conveyors in top working condition, so there are no obvious damages on them. Basically, they're quite sturdy, but sometimes during the season the latch snaps and then problems start. The most important thing is to clean everything thoroughly because this dirt sticks so much that you have to scrape it off. Well, at the moment the combine is in excellent condition. You can see that someone has been cleaning it and preparing it for the season. Right now, the main thing is probably to carry out maintenance, check all the mechanisms, start up the combine, give it a good shake to check for any unusual noises, and make sure there won't be any problems during the season. Also, most importantly, the blades need to be put in proper condition and replaced as much as possible, because during the season we often have problems with the potato vines, not separating the potatoes from the vines. This is especially common with the VRK. And the blades help us, they shake everything out thoroughly, but whatever the machine can't handle or pick up, people behind the harvester collect. We usually have 1 or 2 people walking behind the harvesters. We timed it, and in one 500-meter pass, a person collects about 50 kilograms. If you multiply that by the number of hectares, it adds up to a decent increase, and basically it covers at least the minimum wage for the team working on the harvester. We usually have 4 people stationed here, specifically 2 individuals positioned on this side and another 2 individuals situated on the other side. Because of the ballast release mechanism, I am currently unable to locate the shift lever right here. Oh, I believe it is actually located on the opposite side. Yes, definitely on the other side. So, for the purpose of repeated separation procedures, we meticulously explain to the designated person precisely where they should place their foot and exactly how they should apply pressure. In particularly critical and highly sensitive situations, we always assign a specific dedicated individual to diligently oversee and ensure that there are absolutely no losses whatsoever occurring from the operation of the harvester machine. In general, I personally like the Grimme harvester the most, primarily because when the soil and weather conditions are absolutely optimal, it significantly outpaces any other available harvester in terms of its operational speed and overall efficiency. Of course, the person operating the controls is also very important. For example, we timed it, and in about 10 to 12 minutes the bunker is completely filled. Its productivity is tremendous. Over the season, it harvests about 2,500 tons on its own. Out of the 12 harvesters we have working and the total of 10,000 tons of potatoes we dig up, this one makes a significant contribution.